Story 1. XGF, 34F, told me, 28M, that she is being physically upset by her boyfriend, 30M, and asked if she could stay with me to get away, but I refused. My ex-girlfriend and I were together for about 2.5 years. She broke up with me about a year ago because according to her there was something missing in our relationship. I envisioned myself getting married and having a family with her, so the breakup hit me really hard. It also didn't help that she moved on to her next relationship with her current boyfriend only a month after our breakup. It was a very hard time for me, but I was able to get over it by working on myself, and I'm now doing better than ever. A few days ago, I got a call from my ex-girlfriend. It was her basically crying to me and saying that her boyfriend physically abuses her and has hit her on multiple occasions. I was surprised because this was pretty much the first time she has contacted me since our breakup, so I didn't really know what to say. She then asked me if I could help her by letting her stay with me because they live together. I then asked if she had called the police on her boyfriend, and she answered that she doesn't want to get the authorities involved. I told her that she should call the cops because they are the only ones that can solve her situation. She kept repeating that she did want to get the cops involved. She also kept asking if she could stay with me. I told her that I'm in no way going to interfere in this situation of hers. I straight up told her that I under no circumstances will let her stay with me, but that I'm willing to help her contact the authorities to solve the situation. She still kept asking to stay with me, and I kept refusing until I hung up the call. There are a few reasons that I didn't want to help her. First off, she is my ex, so truth be told I don't owe her anything. Second of all, I know for a fact she has other options for housing because her parents and friends live nearby. Also, I do not want to involve myself in a situation with a violent person that could possibly backfire on me. Who knows what that guy is capable of. Lastly, I didn't want to help her because she hasn't reported him to the police. I'm willing to help her contact the authorities to solve the situation, but other than that I'm not getting myself involved. Despite having my reasons not to help her, I still feel guilty in a way. I don't really know how I can help her otherwise in this situation, and I feel like if she hasn't even called the police on him, there is really nothing else to do. How do you guys suggest I deal with this situation? Edit. Like most of you suggested, I'll try to get in contact with a close family member of hers and explaining the situation to them. I'll also give her some info to some shelters that could provide her resources. But other than that, I'm keeping myself out of everything. Under no circumstances will I be meeting up with her, or anybody in her life, physically. I also won't help her out financially in any way. A few days ago, I got a call from my ex-girlfriend. It was her basically crying to me and saying that her boyfriend physically abuses her and has hit her on multiple occasions. I was surprised because this was pretty much the first time she has contacted me since our breakup, so I didn't really know what to say. She then asked me if I could help her by letting her stay with me because they live together. I then asked if she had called the police on her boyfriend, and she answered that she doesn't want to get the authorities involved. I told her that she should call the cops because they are the only ones that can solve her situation. She kept repeating that she did want to get the cops involved. Story 2. I want to leave my hometown or maybe the whole country to get rid of my family, but my husband disagrees. I'm getting all kind of shit because I refuse my family to meet my children. I might just leave the country. About 6 years ago my F35 sisters, F25, then boyfriend, M27, now husband tried to force himself on me when I crashed on their sofa after a night out because they lived in town and I didn't. I didn't want to commute in the middle because I was scared of being attacked, so I texted my sister and she said I could stay there. I was dozing off when I felt him, but I was very drunk and high and too weak to push him off me successfully. My sister woke up when she heard my cries and came to investigate, but she thought it was something consensual. He then said I seduced him and said she would testify against me if I reported him. She told everyone what I've done and I lost my whole family. No one wanted to have anything to do with me. My then fiancé, M44, now husband, was the only one who believed me, and he asked me to move in with him, because I was getting death threats from my sister's boyfriend, because I ended up reporting him anyway. The case was dropped because the only witness to what happened stood against me. I tried to reach out to my parents and my two other siblings, M30, F27, but they just said they were ashamed of me and that I've ruined their reputation. We live in a small town and I've seen my family sometimes in some public space, but they pretend they didn't see me, and so did I. My husband and I got married a year after that incident. And now I have a daughter over 1 year and I'm pregnant 7 months with my second. Last month when I was at the mall, I just heard someone yell my name. I was terrified and automatically started running with the stroller, because I thought I was being attacked. It isn't unusual that someone yelled profanity at me that knew my sister and her husband. It was my mom, however, accompanied by my middle sister and my aunt, and they managed to catch up, and my mother grabbed the stroller and turned it towards her and started touching and kissing my daughter. I freaked out and started pushing her away, but she insisted to see her grandchild because that's her right. She said she's been meaning to reach out when I gave birth and that I was appalling not to ask her and my dad to come see my baby. She's their first grandchild and they had the right. Finally a cop came to ask what was going on and I could run away. My parents are now waging a war against me for refusing to let them see my children. They are threatening to sue for custody. My husband is trying to get restraining order against them. I haven't left our apartment since because I'm too terrified to meet any of my family again. I was just so confused why the sudden interest in me, and found out that my sister's now husband who tried to abuse me has 2 other women coming forward. One is a friend of my sister some months before he did it with me, and one from his work 6 months ago. My sister knew and helped him cover it, and now my family found out they've dropped her. I told my husband that I want to leave this town and maybe this whole country, and he became very angry and told me that he can't let my past ruin his life anymore and that I should take responsibility for my crazy family. I understand him, but I can't take it anymore. I have been living in fear and humiliation for so long. I want to move away. The problem is that my friends and even in-laws thinks I'm cruel for depriving my parents and my children the chance to start anew and be with each other. Update. Thanks everyone for the support. I've shown my husband this post and moving away seems to make more sense to him now. Since I'm too terrified to leave the apartment, I'm going to take my maternity leave earlier. My husband has started applying jobs elsewhere. I'll also find a job easier after I've given birth since I'm a nurse. I finally feel like I could breathe. Thank you again. Story 3. MIL cheated on her husband, SFIL, and now my wife and I are fighting. My wife and I, both 35, have been together for 10 years. We generally have a great relationship. My MIL and SFIL have been together for about 15 years. MIL is not a nice person in general, but the way she treats and talks to SFIL has always bothered me. I don't like MIL as a person but have always been kind and friendly with her. About a week ago, SFIL called my wife and told her that MIL was cheating on him again. Previous time was about 3 years ago and they decided to work through it, and that they are going to separate because he is tired of being treated like this and having to kiss her ass. The main thing he talked about was wanting to keep in touch with us and that he's still just one phone call away. We've always had a great relationship with him, so this makes perfect sense. I could hear the entire conversation and felt sick to my stomach for SFIL. I felt angry that MIL couldn't just be a decent person and end the relationship before moving on. MIL doesn't know that SFIL called or that we know anything. My wife decided that she was just going to sit on the information for a few days and not respond or engage, which I thought was a really good idea. I understand that it's not really our business, even though this information had been thrust upon us. Well, Friday my MIL called and my wife went into another room and shut the door to have a conversation. I did hear that MIL is still planning a trip to see us this summer and their house is going on the market when their mortgage comes up for renewal in August. At the end of the call, my wife came out of the room with it on speakerphone. MIL said, "Hey OP," like she was the cheeriest, happiest person. I gave back a very unenthusiastic hi that I will admit sounded rude. As soon as my wife hung up, she lost it on me. She went to the bedroom and slammed the door about 8 times. I was confused, honestly. So during the argument that followed, here are some of the key points. SFIL is weak and pathetic for airing their dirty laundry and that it's none of our business. SFIL is manipulating us to feel sympathetic towards him and wife is pissed off that it worked on me. Wife thinks they're both idiots and is angry at them both equally. Wife thinks we are supposed to pretend we don't know this information. Wife now needs to explain my rude behavior to MIL. Wife thinks I'm making this more difficult on her and that I'm inconsiderate. I honestly thought this was a wild overreaction, especially the part about SFIL being weak for wanting to talk about what happened. I've had friends confess their issues with partners' infidelity and would never shame them for it. I also didn't know we were supposed to pretend we don't know. Had my wife communicated this with me, I would have said, "Hi," in a better tone. I apologized to my wife multiple times. I told my wife that I would call or text MIL and apologize for my short response and tell her I was just in a bad mood about sports team or something along those lines. It didn't have to be about MIL at all, especially when she doesn't think I know anything about their marital situation anyway. There has been no further discussion on this. We hardly spoke all day Saturday and I'm worried today will be the same. I feel like I'm at a complete loss of anything else to do or say other than continuing to apologize. I understand my wife may be processing this information differently and could be having a rough time, but she's not talking about it with me. Any advice would be greatly appreciated.